Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
Okay, welcome to Nerd Alert, the podcast of the Alabama School of Math and Science. I'm your host, Asia Frey, the librarian and research coordinator. We have our president, Dr. John Hoyle, and two very special guests. Every other episode of Nerd Alert during the year, we've ended by asking our guests who they thought were the two biggest adult nerds on campus. And finally, we have them here. Obviously, since you're here, it is Dr. Mitch Frye got a lot of votes and Mr. Kevin Doulbeare got a lot of votes. So we always start off the podcast with the same question, which is, what are you nerding out about right now? We like to get I've got some good recommendations off of this. So what's something you've seen or eaten or read that you're kind of nerding out about that you would recommend?
Well, this weekend, two of my favorite fandoms are merging.
Okay.
Marvel Comics and Magic the Gathering are releasing a set, and I have been practicing and getting ready for that tournament, getting ready for this weekend.
Okay. Dr. Frye.
I really enjoyed the new horror movie Obsession. I've been nerding out about that. I'm a big horror movie nerd, have loved horror movies since childhood, thought that was a great film, did not enjoy Backrooms as much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Frye. Dr. Hoyle,
Well, I recently visited Iceland with my son Jack and my wife, and you gave me a book that your dear Aunt Polly gave you to give to me. And so I've been reading it, and Jack's been reading it, and my wife's been reading it, because it's truly fascinating. Iceland's history is amazing.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that you've been nerding out. That's ideal for me, a librarian. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, so thank you for the book.
You're welcome.
You may or may not get it back, which
That's
means
fine.
dear Aunt Polly may or may not give it back.
She'll be that's books belong, with others. That's
Okay.
good. So since we say nerding out, this podcast, it's called Nerd Alert. We talk about nerding out. And today we really this is sort of a quest for the heart and soul of what nerddom is. We wanted to have you guys on because it's something we've been talking about more and more like all year. What does it even mean now? Dr. Hoyle, you want to start us off? Because you have some thoughts.
I have some thoughts.
Okay.
So everybody knows I'm in my 50s. Won't say which 50, but I'm in my 50s. So I've been around for long enough to know that there was a time when no one at my school would have wanted to have been called a nerd. You would have had your feelings hurt. And even if you were a quote unquote nerd, you still wouldn't have liked it. You might have worn it as a badge of honor, but at the same time, you could have also complained or been sad about it. So that seems to have changed over the years quite dramatically. And I think that people have gotten to a place now where they say nerd out about something, or I'm a watch nerd, or I'm a this nerd, or I'm a gardening nerd. I don't really think that that's true. I think that rings kind of hollow. I think it's just now a stand-in for I have a passion about something. So I think if we dug a little bit deeper than that, we would find out that maybe people who think they're nerdy about things may not be as nerdy as they think. But I would say that since it's evolved, it is better to have that than to have it be so negative. I like the fact that the world has become more open to people's passions and things that, quote unquote, are nerdier. I would also think that the other flavor is that the nerds kind of have won. You won.
So what do you?
Marvel has never been more popular, and I'll say for better or worse, and I would lean more toward the worse, but you won. So what does it feel like to have won this battle? And now we see that sometimes people are like, you are in my space now. I really am a nerd and you're not, but you're claiming my nerddom.
I'm very welcoming. I think a big tent of nerddom is the way to go. But I think that might be more to an open society. I think the enthusiasm is a critical part. The enthusiasm for maybe something that was niche might have been where it began, but just because everyone has a different kind of thing that they really like doesn't make any one thing different or worse. And once those things catch on and people get excited about those things, I think the excitement, not what the thing is the thing that makes it kind of nerdy and passionate about it. And you're right. Gardening might have been around for, 10,000 years, but the ways that some people can really get into it. My wife was a rose nerd for years, and she took all that chemistry and she had 75 rose bushes in the backyard and really got into the science of it and things like that. That was wonderful, and it wasn't my cup of tea, but I enjoyed watching her care about something and really get into something. And I think that is the best part of nerd culture. It's not what they're getting excited
But isn't
about.
that just switching out words? Isn't it a hobby or a passion at that point?
Yeah, but there's the knowledge base that comes with it. Like now being an expert about it, I think that's a critical part of the nerdom. Not just
So that's where you cross that threshold where you can safely categorize someone as a nerd.
Yeah. I think, if you're just a fan or somewhat like casual about it, but once you start studying it and really putting effort into it mentally, I think that's where.
But I think a difference here, and I'm going to speak before we gave Dr. Frye a chance to say anything, is that you sort of are this carnival barker kind of nerd where you're like, hey, the tent is big. Come one, come all. I'll teach you about Magic the Gathering.
Anytime.
Come on in. But I think a difference between you two, and I'm not trying to get negative here, is
Definitely.
Dr. Frye would be more of a gatekeeper there and say, maybe if you don't know enough about this, stay back a little bit.
Yes, let's get an on the other hand from Dr. Frye. What do you think?
I'm much more of a silent judge. There's in my terms of gatekeeping, I don't think I would keep anyone out of anything, but I might hold myself to certain standards that I wouldn't necessarily hold others to. In terms of what it's like for nerds to have won, I think it's a very mixed blessing, possibly a curse. You can definitely tell that a finger has curled on the monkey's paw in the wish that nerds would come out on top, because while Marvel may be more popular than ever, I think you would be hard pressed to say that the movies are very good. We both, I think,
Same with Star Wars.
Mr. Doulbeare and I did not particularly enjoy the Fantastic Four movie. It just seemed like things happening, like a bad episode of television. And I think something that we've lost is a little bit of media literacy, wherein, for one thing, what they're cranking out, audiences may struggle to understand because there's not much there, but they're also. It used to be that nerd movies aped existing properties. They followed, I don't want to say formulas, but they were patterned on successful genre films often. And now Marvel Studios can do their own thing. And often what they want to make is, in my opinion, kind of a long television show that is less about character development and themes. I think Star Wars has gone the same way. So there's just a little bit less substance to modern nerd media, I would say.
So do you still consider yourself a nerd?
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
I think of myself more as a gaming nerd now. I really enjoy games because you have some say in narrative development, and I do think that game narratives haven't necessarily been touched in the same way that big tent nerd media in film and television has. So video games and tabletop gaming, I'm probably more of a nerd there is where I put my energy. I've missed many Disney Plus shows and many Marvel movies at the theater because they just don't appeal to me anymore.
So like if they made a tabletop game, if it became as popular as Marvel, would it no longer be nerdy, do you think?
Perhaps because, that effort that you have to put in to learn it and get a point. Now, I've been very lucky. I went to the world's largest tabletop gaming convention, Gen Con, which started at Lake Geneva, Wisconsin with TSR Publications, moved to Milwaukee, moved to Indianapolis, and now they will have a board gaming session that will take over all of Lucasfield. And so seeing those kind of things happen, like seeing popularity go up, and up, that warms my heart. But there's still some people, like, if a game's tough to get into and takes that effort, then that's kind of a badge of honor to be able to represent that.
Mitch, does it warm your heart to see these things? Or are you like, leave me alone?
There's actually, and Mr. Doulbeare will be familiar with this, there's an ongoing debate in the Magic the Gathering community about universes beyond, where the original Magic the Gathering IP, which has its own universe, it's kind of a bad universe. You probably wouldn't want to read books and comics based on it, but it's its own weird nerd universe has begun integrating other IPs, such as Marvel, the set that's coming out very soon. They already did a Spider-Man set prior to the Marvel set. Some of those haven't been received very well, such as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set, and others have, such as Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings. So there's a civil war among nerds in the Magic the Gathering community on that. I'm kind of split. I like some of the stuff, and the other stuff I don't like as much. But it's already spilling over into the nerd stuff we love.
Well,
Is that part of the fun of being a nerd, though, is to debate some of these things?
Oh, for sure. And that's, that's been going on for years.
To have a hot take on purpose and then come loaded with it when you meet up with your friends.
And but that's your opinion can be very valued about that, and how you feel about it can affect others. But you want to be able to say, hey, I've thought about this problem. I want to embrace it this way, or I want to do it that way. But debating has always been a nerd kind of thing, and that makes it
okay. I got one more thing before we jump into some questions. Can you be a sports nerd? Can you, by your definition, be a sports nerd? I think the answer is yes, because you could study facts and figures and know who played third base for the Mets in 1972, and you could know all their stats. But then I think by Dr. Frye's definition, maybe he'd say you can't be.
I think you can. My nephew just got his degree from sports management from Indiana University. He just got hired on at Florida University in their athletic department, and I mean he's podcasted about things. He's done all sorts of.
Everybody's got a podcast now.
But just because Sports Center's been on for a huge number of years, and that debate of things, I think. People are now watching video games and can be an esports nerd. I think you can take some of those concepts and apply them to smaller competitions or smaller things and still have the same outcome. And just because something's been popular for a long time doesn't mean it's bad. It's just better well known.
I have a complicated take here, and it is a complicated subject. So I think of nerddom, being a nerd, as being related to useless knowledge untethered to reality. So, for example, if Mr. Doulbeare was to say he was a chemistry nerd, I would probably say I think he's a scholar, actually. That stuff's useful. That's real-world knowledge. And sports walk a fine line because it's real-world knowledge, but games are fake. So that's a tough... a tough division. And as a wrestling fan, a wrestling nerd, that's even tougher to me because it's fake sport where you can be a real nerd in it. So I want to extend nerd cred to them. At the same time, I don't want to violate the line between nerds and jocks that is very important. They are polar opposites like dogs and cats, like spaghetti and milk. They cannot go together. There is a line in the sand. So it's a tough subject.
Well, so
those were good answers, by the way.
We're going to get into that nerd versus jock thing a little bit more in a second. But
am I going to go into a locker? Will I be placed in there against my will?
It's a rite of passage.
Okay.
We're all nerds, let's be honest. So this is I found something online called the Nerdity Test. It is from a student at MIT, and it's from 1992. So it has hundreds of questions, so we're not going to answer all
1992.
of them. Yes, so a lot of them are.
That was back when if you called someone
Magic
a nerd,
the Gathering did not exist.
You're kind of skewing the results.
We're in second edition D&D, I think. Thaco exists.
We don't really need to ask the questions.
our current students wouldn't have even been born
But this
for
is
a
really
decade.
the time when some of us were actually going through it the first time as nerds, right? In the early 90s, some of us later. But anyway, so some of the questions are, okay, we're just going to go really fast. Have you ever taken a higher math course like trig or calculus?
Sure.
Yes.
No? Okay.
I have, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't know it anymore, but I did.
Did you receive an A?
Yes.
Okay. This says, are you still capable of doing things you learned in the higher math course? You're a no. Mr. Doulbeare, you probably are.
Yeah, I
now-
teach at school math and science. He was going to do some
We're getting
math.
into some science stuff here that kind of disagrees with your points that you just made. Do you still know information you learned in the science courses? Have you ever majored in the hard sciences? This specifically says not psychology. Engineering, physics, chemistry. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever taken Latin?
No.
Okay. Have you ever asked a question in a lecture?
Many times.
Poorly.
Of course.
Have you ever answered a question asked in a lecture?
As a teacher or as a student?
I guess as a student. Well, as okay. But here's one. From Dr. Frye. Have you ever corrected a professor in a lecture? I'm just going to go ahead and write yes.
That's great.
I don't think I have, actually. No, I don't think I have.
I have some footage, actually.
No, I didn't. I've always been a respectful student, I think.
Okay. I marked you as yes.
Well, I popped off once in high school, but we'll delete that. I didn't correct anyone.
All right. Have you ever answered a rhetorical question?
Not that I recall.
Oh, come on. Everyone has.
Okay. So anyway, all right, we're moving on. This is a bunch of these with computer stuff that's pretty old and outdated. Well, what about, have you ever watched Doctor Who?
Yes.
Yes. And just let's give some credit to this test for being in 1992. This is when Doctor Who was really bad.
That's a bridge too far, Doctor Who.
Yes.
It really is. It separates a certain kind of nerd from just a normal nerd, I think.
Well, we have some big Whovians on campus. Mr. Kicklighter is a giant Doctor Who fan, and
my wife.
One, so yes.
I mean, that does make you pretty nerdy. Like Star Wars, I think we've agreed that everybody likes that at this point, but that's on here. Okay, can you whistle, hum, sing, or snap the same theme songs to the following shows? Gilligan's Island, I guess. Yes. Flintstones.
Sure.
The Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jetsons. For sure.
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't think I know that one.
Okay, I think, yes. Okay, what about the Addams Family?
Yeah, of
for
course.
sure. Now, this one's hard. What about Dobie Gillis? This is very dated.
No, I don't have that repertoire.
He was the...
What?
He was the guy with the little shaggy.
Maynard G.
Yeah, Maynard G. Krebs. Yeah.
I guess because I don't know how this is,
Did you dig this out of like a listserv archive?
Yeah.
It's from March 12th, 1992 from MIT. And then I Dream of Jeannie. I would like to point out Jeannie is spelled wrong here. Okay. Do you know most of the words to the Lumberjack song by Monty Python?
I'm okay.
I know some of the words.
Okay. What about, have you ever played a role-playing game like D&D?
Sure.
And then it says, since leaving high school. Yes, you really have. Have you seen all of the Star Wars movies? Yeah. Yes, we all.
Oh, that's pretty tough now. Let's just, the ones from 1992 or earlier, definitely.
See, one of the big advantages I have from Dr. Frye is I'm 10 years older. So like I was able to see a lot of those things, the first part. My DM was the best man at my wedding. So
could you define DM for
the dungeon master of the group role playing game? So those kind of things, it was a little more accepted back.
You had longer.
So your senior year in high school, then what was the nerdiest thing you were into?
A board game called Talisman.
I remember Talisman.
So it was kind of like a D&D put into one session of it. That was pretty fun. We were still playing some D&D, and then TSR made a whole bunch of other role-playing games. You could be a spy, you could be a cowboy, you could be a space explorer. Those were all very fun.
What about you, Dr. Frye?
Oh boy, I did play D&D in high school. I did play Magic the Gathering in high school, but my friend group and I, we wanted to move on to a different collectible card game, so we played a now defunct card game called Legend of the Five Rings.
Classic.
Which ran until about 2015. And it's even nerdier. I don't know another way to put it.
Have you seen all the Star Trek films?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them in one? This specifies, how about in 1 30-hour period?
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
There are too many now.
Final question. Have you ever owned a pair of Spock ears?
No.
I have not.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, so we have some questions from our producer. Mr. Floyd would like to ask you guys some questions because when you brought up jock versus nerd, we have kind of an interesting case in our
we have Stephen. Yeah, it's close to home here.
Yes, so Stephen, we're waiting to hear from you on this. I know you have some questions and some thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll start with the questions. I'm a comic book nerd, what I would consider. So I tried to pull out some deep cut stuff and see if any of you can answer them. All right. First question. What was the first comic to reveal that the Flash of the Silver Age, also known as Barry Allen, lived on a different Earth than the original Flash of the Golden Age, Jay Garrick?
So Flash of Two Worlds. It's going to be in the early 60s. I don't know the issue number.
I know the general story arc it's in, but I don't know the comic. It's on Crisis on Multiple Earths, I think, is the first crossover, I think. But I don't know the issue number. I can see the cover. The illustration is of Jay Garrick and Barry Allen running to save someone on a construction site, I think, but I can't remember the.
Yeah, on opposite sides of a brick wall. You can see both of them. The wall's kind of center. That is the Flash number 123. It was before Crisis of the Earth, but this is actually the first time in Marvel or DC that comics kind of debuted the multiverse. No one had mentioned it to that point, but it was how they retconned the two being completely different. All right, I got a couple more. Who was the first Marvel character to say the phrase "Avengers Assemble" in the Marvel comics?
Ooh, that's gonna be a tough one. Captain America doesn't join the Avengers till Avengers number 5. So if it's gonna happen before that, I'm gonna say Thor.
I think that's a really good question. The iconic, you think of Captain America yelling Avengers Assemble, but you're right that he joins later. Iron Man is a founding member. I'm going to say Iron Man.
Both of you would be incorrect. The answer is the Wasp.
The Wasp.
Whoa, another deep dive.
She
founding
also
member.
coined the name the Avengers. So she named the group as well as came up with the iconic slogan. All right, I know this one may be skewed a tiny bit towards Mr. Doulbeare. I know he's a big F4 fan. All right, so what event caused Victor Von Doom's expulsion from university?
Well, he created his own device to try to talk to his dead mother, and it exploded in his dorm room after Reed said you couldn't do that, and that got him thrown out of the university.
Now, here's a really good nerd question, though. There's a failed experiment that causes the explosion, and typically in the story burns his face, but isn't the dead mother thing retconned in later for a story that comes down the road?
I think they added that thing. The reason for the device
canonically now.
Yes. And the burning of the face is just a very, very small mark, and then he's so vain that he has to put on the mask and everything.
That is correct. Bonus question: can you name Victor's mom?
Oh my goodness!
I can. I think it's no. Hold on. It's the daughter's name, isn't it?
Is it Valeria?
I think it is.
We're gonna go with Valeria.
Incorrect. Cynthia.
Okay.
Cynthia Von Doom.
Another bonus question is to keep up with how many times the phrase canonically.
Got one so far.
There's only one. I can't believe it's taken us this long to get it. So, Mr. Floyd, what do you think? Can a person be a jock and a nerd? Because I feel like these questions are to show that you know your stuff as well.
Yeah, so I would lean more towards like what Dr. Hoyle was describing earlier. I think you can have baseball nerds. I think I would say most of them live in the baseball space. You have people who I would borderline have an obsession and an extreme knowledge of statistics, as well as players, events, when did they specifically happen, but may have never touched the game or cared to even play the game. So they wouldn't consider themselves a jock in the main sense, but they do love sports. And like you said, Dr. Hoyle, they probably can tell you who was playing third for the New York Mets in 1965 when they lost the NLCS to the Atlanta Braves. They probably could tell you those ridiculous amount of information. So I think you can be, personally, as someone who probably identifies a little bit as both, because I do, love TVs and movie specifically. Like a lot of these IPs we've talked about, like Star Wars and Transformers, and I'm also of the generation of video games too, though. So I kind of, when we were Star Wars nerds, we weren't just watching the movies. We played every game that ever came out that had that brand on it. Stuff that technically was not canon at the time and stuff that got added in later. So yeah, I would say that you can be. Yeah.
I think a major crossover spot is sports card collecting. I think if you collect sports cards, you're in the club.
Okay.
Well, speaking of card collecting, we made you guys something very special.
Oh boy!
Wow.
Hearing on the episode here.
What a transition!
These are amazing. That transition was amazing, but it may be one-upped by these. Look at these. Let's flash them up on the screen, by the way.
So since you guys are nerds, we made Miss Sarah Gail Myers made you guys some amazing nerd trading cards. So why don't you guys talk? This is you on a card. Would you pass that to Dr. Frye? Check it.
These are awesome.
You share
Wow.
What are some of your special powers and what are some of your stats and things?
Well, one of my abilities is trivia. It's got my quote right. You bet your sweet bippy. Let's see here. Strengths, wide interest level, learns new games quickly, patient attitude, very good.
Loud voices not listed.
Well, that's a weakness. Spelling is a weakness. How accurate and loud, yes. Energy levels excellent. This is super super fun. Thank you so much.
Dr. Frye, what about
Yes,
you?
this looks great. It correctly identifies that one of my weaknesses is real-time strategy games. I'm terrible at those. I just can't click fast enough.
So am I.
Zero real sports knowledge, correct. Strengths, deck building, miniature painting, I think those are correct. And then my energy level is listed at 1 star tired, which is correct. I don't get enough sleep. I'm tired.
You have to drink coffee a lot.
Yes, this is my 3rd cup in my Dr. Robotnik mug.
So
Those are amazing.
Yeah, they are excellent.
They look great.
So you guys are not the only nerds on campus by far. I mean, arguably the biggest, but we also, Dr. Hoyle caught up with some of our nerd students and asked them what they thought about being a nerd.
So we're asking everybody, what is a nerd? What is not a nerd? What's your answer?
A nerd is probably someone who doesn't like the stereotypical things that someone likes, I guess. I mean,
Do you think it's like a negative or a positive thing?
a positive. I mean, like, most of my friends are nerds, so I would consider myself a nerd in a way, so.
I would say a nerd is someone who has a niche interest that's also not well liked by most people. I guess sort of almost looked down upon
Okay.
compared to other things. And then not a nerd would be sort of mainstream interest, I guess.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Liz constitutes a nerd. No, I'm joking. I think what constitutes a nerd is definitely being like niche about something and being like really passionate about it.
Okay. What do you think, Liz?
I think a nerd is someone who just asks a bunch of questions because they're just curious about the world.
Are you a nerd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, guys.
All right, Dr. Will, the kids had a lot to say, unsurprisingly, about what it means to be a nerd. So now we're going to go through, we have prepared for you guys a little nerd franchise tier list that we're going to go through. So let's get started here. If everyone can see, the first one, I believe there is the Transformers. Now, do you know how this works? You guys know how this works? You need to debate where you want it on here. S is the best, as was explained to me. And then you have A, B, C, and D. So like good would be S, for example. So where do you guys think that, and of course you can have more than one per tier because there's only 4 tiers. Even I can tell that. So what about Transformers? What do we think with that?
Ooh, I can come in hot on this one and hand over to Mr. Doulbeare. I don't think Transformers is nerdy as all, despite being founded on toys. Because those toys are also cars, we're entering jock world, I think. This is jock knowledge. Also, the movies are directed by Michael Bay and they have Megan Fox in them. Those are normal people. Those are very normal people. I'm happy that they're normal. That's good for them. But the movies are also bland and lifeless in a way that is, I would say, worse than the Marvel movies. So for me, it's a D, but I'm open to feedback from Mr. Doulbeare.
Anything based on a toy, really. And there's the thing. Did you fall in love with it when you played with those toys as a kid? That's going to have a major effect on it. I didn't, so I never got really into that. But the movies are fun. Maybe I'll put it a B. I think it's a B.
A B instead of a D. Well,
Ooh.
Dr. Will, what do you think?
I loved Transformers as toys as a kid. I had
Awesome.
many of them, but they were amazing as toys. Those movies are terrible. Just terrible. So I'd put it at a D.
I know that Dr. Hoyle reads about cars, though, which is
Yeah.
very
Oh yeah.
very
As a-
normie stuff.
Yes, and I will own that for sure. I still to this day love cars. So yeah, as a kid, I like subscribed to all the car magazines. My parents hated that, but I got them all.
I think we might have to, your vote puts them down, Transformers down at D.
Ooh.
And the next one is,
Deserved.
what is the next one? I can't quite see. It's,
That appears to me from a distance to be Warhammer 40,000. Is that what it is? Or no, that's one more over. We debated about this. That is Battlestar Galactica.
not Harry Potter.
Okay, from a distance, that one does look like
It's a
the
group of
poster for the
people.
first Harry Potter
It does a
movie.
little bit. So what about Battlestar Galactica? Where do you guys place this?
When it first came out, like it filled a big empty spot because Star Wars had just came out and we couldn't get enough on it. And then there was this fun TV show every week. We're going to have battles. We're going to have fights. We're going to have evil robots. And so
Beep, beep, beep.
and then, when they try to bring it back, they put a big twist on it. So I'm not a huge Battlestar Galactica fan, but I think it really gets a lot of people. I'd give it an A.
It's so nerdy, I don't know about it. So I think that has to push it up. I'm going to have to agree with an A ranking, but it also isn't nerdy enough to get my interest. So I don't think it can enter the S tier.
Okay, that's valid. Okay, what's the next one? I also can't read this one.
This is Warhammer.
That's Warhammer. Well, I failed the vision test earlier.
Can you tell us briefly?
Briefly, so it's a miniature war game where you have to assemble and paint your miniatures, and then you play by a rule set that changes about every 3 years.
Yeah, can anyone ever
game.
understand the rules to this game?
You can. However, I will say that it is so complicated that frequently even the judges at the shop I play with get things wrong and have to check back up. It's pretty common that there's a lot of debate. You play this game with a measuring tape to move your guys around. I almost called them units, which is what they're technically called, but that's so nerdy. This is really nerdy, guys.
But you are painting the minifigures yourself.
Yes.
That toy thing that you like.
This is the toy thing that I like. I'm putting that in quotes, but yes.
You got to give it an S.
I'm open to feedback on it, but I think it is profoundly nerdy in so many levels. It also, there's, hundreds of books and comics. I listen to these books on Audible. This is really, really nerdy stuff. Give
it an S.
That's where I'm putting it. Mr. Doulbeare.
I've seen tournaments of this. I've seen 100 people at 50 different tables play games for 6 hours at a time. This has all the classic trappings of a true nerd hobby. You can't play unless you paint the miniatures. And then you have to learn the things, and you have to be involved. And then once you get through all those steps, then you can finally enjoy it. Then you were painting and working up to it for several months before you could get into it. And so I applaud you. That is dedication and devotion. And it's one company out of England, and they've tried to make some things more accessible. They have a Blood Bowl version where you have football players with elves. They've tried it, but no, it's not as good as the original.
How this could ever really be.
So give it a rating.
For nerdium, it's the high. It's S. Yeah.
So now, okay.
Hold on, I have a interjection.
Please.
Hot take.
Producer booth.
One of Dr. Frye mentioned you can't be a jock and a nerd.
Oh, he took that to heart.
The most popular Warhammer player / fan, I would argue, is a jock, and he's also most commonly known as Superman, is Henry Cavill.
That's true.
Is on the record as a huge Warhammer fan, plays the tabletop
plays Custodes.
Games, does
yes.
Paints his own minifigs. Would you call Henry Cavill a nerd?
He's got it. Gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him.
Although conventionally handsome, he's also a nerd. So
yes.
All right, that's a great point.
Wait, so is that your hot take? That nerds can't be conventionally handsome? Oh my God.
No, I guess I
think you just broke the podcast.
That's not what I meant. But that is what I said. Yeah, I did say that. But Superman doesn't get more, let's just talk about DC in general.
I don't think there's any world in which even some kind of weird multiverse where this is not an S tier nerd thing. This is about as nerdy as somebody can get.
DC?
No, the Warhammer.
Yes, I was moving on from
we do need to move on to the other categories, but the amount of knowledge, useless, absolutely pointless knowledge, both in the game, the data on the units that you field, and in the world is astronomical. It's so much. You can learn so much pointless stuff that will impact no one in life through this.
All right, well, that one's agreed then. So moving on to DC, where should we place that?
It's the only three superheroes that survived from the golden age till now is Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, and they've all had great mass media abilities, and people can debate what their favorite is. But for nerdiest, I'd probably put it at a B because it's just so accessible. Now you can get into the weeds with it. You can really dive down into it. But
Superman's not so nerdy to
me. That's what I meant when I said he was.
Yeah.
Just that he's as mainstream as you can.
Now you can get nerdy about Batman for sure.
I don't know. I think Batman and Superman are pretty conventional and cool. They're very cool. They're undeniably cool. Batman more than Superman. I think it's hard for me to see a different route to that. But then you got to think that DC is also the realm of the Green Lanterns, who are basically like Star Trek, but with no ships. So that's really nerdy. I love them. I love the Green Lantern Corps. It's super nerdy. I think DC's pretty nerdy. The other thing I got to give them points for is continuing to fail to reach as wide of a fan base as Marvel. They stumble constantly in their media, and I really love that for them. So I can agree on a B with.
But that Superman movie last year,
it's great.
So good.
It's a perfect movie.
Oh,
I did love it.
Yeah.
So then where do we think Star Wars fits in all this? At the beginning, I feel like this was at the, forefront of but is the popularity of Star Wars what sort of marked the beginning of the end of nerd culture as an underdog like status? Maybe?
Star Wars fans can't agree on anything.
Right.
They used to be able to, but now they can't. It used to be, well, everyone liked The Empire Strikes Back. That was the best movie. And now people have really strong opinions about
and each generation latches on to their Star Wars. When I saw the prequels, like, what? But then those people, when they were 8-year-olds, when they saw that, they're like, this is great. This is what they owned, and we might not all be fans of Grogu, but there are kids now today who are going to love that character for 50 years, they keep on bringing it back to children. And I think that's genius. I was lucky enough to go to the very first Star Wars convention back in 99, right before the release of Phantom Menace. We had all these discussions, what was going to happen. Jar Jar was there in person. I'm like, oh, he looks like he's going to be really cool, and
is he?
No. Well, guys, it's horrible, but you were hoping that these things could happen, and we went and had Wookiee waffles after the midnight showing of Phantom Menace at Planet Hollywood, going, oh no, but it's probably for nerdiness, and I love it.
Those prequels are better than the sequels, though.
Overall, yes. I didn't think it could get worse, but it can be very disillusioning and disjointed. So, I'll probably put Star Wars as for a nerdiest level as a C. Although that was my kind of
Star Wars shirt.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well,
you, Dr. Frye.
My thoughts. I shared Mr. Doulbeare's experience of being failed by the Phantom Menace, and it was pretty impactful. There was so much hype that summer, or that spring. It came out in the spring when it came out, and everyone wanted it to be great, and it really wasn't. And it was one of the first major pop culture disappointments in my life. So, and I think that's important for nerddom, though. For something to be really nerdy, it also has to kind of stink a little bit, and that really stinks. So I think that's that moves it up a little bit for me. I think for me, it's at least a B. There's probably a time I would have said an A or an S for Star Wars, but it's a B.
That makes sense.
For me.
I could not disagree. Could not. The Phantom Menace, the Duel of the Fates scene, turned me into a Star Wars fan.
How old are you?
I'll be 34 this year.
See, there's maybe 13 good minutes of film in the Phantom Menace, and that's part of them. And then there's about a 20-minute long pod race that offsets the whole thing.
What about Super Mario? Where do we put that?
Well, that's really tough. I mean, it's some of these franchises are so big. My kids love Paper Mario. There's some really small niche stuff and you could get into that, and then suddenly it becomes $1 billion movie, and so where you entered into this and enjoy it makes it, but because it's so popular, I don't think I could put it again probably a B because so many people.
I think the Bs are going to be kind of populated here, but I'm getting into that area as well because I think it's very popular. It's extremely mainstream. Everyone knows who Mario is. There's multiple Mario movies. If we were looking at a different franchise, like, for example, Sonic the Hedgehog, the beloved Pepsi to Mario's Coke, I think we would be in much deeper territory, much deeper A or S territory, because the Sonic franchise is incredibly weird, and the movies themselves, even the modern popular movies, are very, very strange.
Okay.
But I think Mario
But when
is
you
a little
dig
too
into
normy.
the story of Mario, it's very surface level. There's not much there to dig into, is there?
We could put it,
No.
I would think C.
frankly.
I kind of want it there just because the last time I was at Universal, the Donkey Kong coaster was down. So I think the franchise deserves a hit just for that.
That's scientifically, yeah, that's
a metric I'm considering.
I can't quite tell what that is. Is that
This is Dungeons and Dragons.
okay? Dungeons and
Ooh.
Dragons.
So for years, this was a really test of nerdom because it was so male dominated, and again, another hard level to get into. Like if someone didn't teach you this, and you have to have a group to play it, and then the video games brought in more people. It has grown, and COVID really helped D&D because you could play online and use Zoom and things like that. But I lucky enough worked one convention with Dave Arneston after the people who made Magic bought TSR, and they he was telling all these great stories. You could still visit Gary Gygax's house. I have not done that pilgrimage yet.
That sounds like S tier to me.
This is pretty nerdy.
I think there's been some reach outs to it. I think they've worked hard to make it accessible to people, and I think there are some famous people.
not.
But if you had just
It is
one
absolutely
litmus test where you could say, are you a nerd or are you not a nerd? You could say, for shorthand, do you play D&D? And if they say yes to that, then you can say nerd. And if they say no to that, they move on.
And I think we have to make an important division here. There's two things to consider. There's Dungeons and Dragons and there's Stranger Things. Stranger Things is over here in normie territory, Big Bang Theory world. That's normie stuff. Just that it piggybacks off of D&D does not take away from
I totally
D&D's nerdiness.
Like the casual viewer could still enjoy those things and now knows what the words mean, but they're still not playing the game.
I think that was also, I'm overusing the word shorthand, but a way for the directors, the writers, just to say, just let me assure you people watching this that these kids really are nerds.
Sure.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Therefore, S tier for sure.
And D&D involves math, so I think S tier. Yes.
What about Doctor Who? I think we might be up in the super S tier.
I'll start off here and say I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan. My wife loves Doctor Who.
Is your wife a nerd?
She is a nerd, and Doctor Who is so nerdy that I don't like it. It is very few of the things up here as a nerd. What I call cringeworthy, but I feel a sense of embarrassment whenever I try to watch Doctor Who that I don't feel for other media. Part of it is the level of special effects. Part of it is the acting. I don't know. I just can't get into it in the way that I like Star Trek. And for that reason, I think it's even nerdier.
I agree.
It's to me, it's an S because
I give it an S.
especially if we're in Tom Baker territory. But
He was my favorite Doctor. I think, another thing to measure how nerdy something is to see which fans just flock to it and are rabid about it. Mr. Kicklighter is a rabid Whovian. You have to are willing to take arrows to be a fan, and if you can do that and defend it, then that really helps its nerd.
I do
nerd
think that's
number.
a great point about being a nerd, and what we kind of think when we say, "Oh, well, it's not the same being a nerd now." Is that if you suffered for liking these things, that just makes you more of a nerd. Whereas
Yes.
now, if you started watching Marvel movies and you're just like, "Oh, I love comics," that's just really, I feel like you haven't gone through it.
now who's being the gatekeeper?
I mean, I'm just, I don't like any of this stuff. What's the next one? What's that?
Magic the Gathering.
Oh, Magic the Gathering.
Just say
we
S
have
and
to-
move on.
Just-
We have
Just say
to, we
S
have
and
to
move
start
on.
with Mr.
I don't
Doulbeare.
wanna hear
Just say S and move on.
I mean, it is fantastic. It is the world's best-selling game now, so no game has made more money from it, and it combines so many elements. I've got to meet the creator on multiple times, and it was developed to play in between sessions of D&D. So D&D requires all these books and things like that, and he said, well, we can't make a lot of books. We need something that people can just have and play between sessions. And he went back and he picked up how baseball cards are sold. And it was the first trading card game. And so every time you open it, there's a little thrill there, what you're going to get. But it's starting to get a little bit, and as much as Dr. Frye is correct about, some of the additional IPs, I think it's just going to widen the base more and make more people enjoy it. And if you're a big fan and you don't care for a particular IP, well, then just take a time out and don't buy it,
Couple thoughts. I do think it's an S tier nerd IP. I do think Magic, its appeal in gaming today is that it's a shared language. Almost, if you play tabletop games, you know how to play Magic for the most part. If you play nerdy tabletop games, you play Magic. And that is a strength of the IP. It is also kind of a weakness because as a game system, it's probably, I don't think it's the greatest game system out there, but it's the one that survived. I've played other card games that I like more and they died, but Magic lives on. And so I continue to play it. And it is very nerdy.
What the next one is? That say Warcraft? Is that different from Warhammer?
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, is it more nerdy?
I am embarrassed for you to have asked this question.
World of Warcraft.
It's okay.
I feel fine about it. So what? Well, is it more nerdy?
I'll take this one.
Please.
The Warcraft franchise it began as a real-time strategy computer game inspired by the tabletop game Warhammer Fantasy. Before there was Warhammer 40K, which is set in space, Warhammer Fantasy is men, orcs, elves, dwarves, and Warcraft was a computer attempt at that.
Which was called
Warcraft. StarCraft is the 40K knockoff,
right?
But there's Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, and then Warcraft 3 inspired World of Warcraft,
right,
which is one of the most popular or the most popular MMO of all time.
Correct.
Extremely nerdy.
So if Asia didn't know what it was, go and watch the South Park few episodes that covered it, and you'll get it.
Now I've seen South
You'll
Park.
get it.
That I've seen. So
You'll get it.
Mr. Doulbeare, any thoughts on Warcraft?
Shall we play?
As a father of a StarCraft fanatic who still plays it to this day, and the great thing with that is they released the code so everybody can make their own mods with it and get into it. Again, it can meet so many people at so many different levels, but it is definitely not mainstream. So I'm going to put an A.
I think A's right. The S bracket's looking a little popular right now, and I think not everyone can be in the club.
So true.
This is an A level.
Again, I'm sprinting at the next one. What is that? Is that Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Now you guys don't feel super passionate about this one necessarily.
Hold on.
Put it in S and move on.
No, I don't think it's an S. I think, here's my controversial take, Lord of the Rings is incredibly normie.
Popular.
It's very normie. I like Lord of the Rings a lot, but it is very normal. You can read it in your book club.
So before the Peter Jackson movies, maybe you would have thought differently, but it became so popular because everyone saw those movies.
Yes.
And one of them won an Academy Award, so it was pretty.
It used to be, when I was in high school, it was almost a tradition for the nerds to hand down a copy of Lord of the Rings and say, enjoy this bit of deep nerd lore. But the movies did expand the popularity, which is great. I think the movies are great. I love them. But it's no longer sort of a niche nerd item. It's very popular for good reason. And then it's the basis of many of the things we're looking at. But
where are we going to put it? A, B, guys?
I think because of its popularity, it's going to be an A.
Okay. What about now possibly the other thing most responsible for nerddom's mainstream journey is Marvel?
I mean,
I almost feel like as a true nerd, you almost can't admit to liking Marvel. Is that what you feel that way?
But the movies, some of them were so bad.
And that's okay.
Keep that in mind.
Okay. And so we talked about suffering for, you're going to put up with some things that aren't as good. And, this, a way to have a shared universe, all of them in New York City was an idea that Stan Lee brought. And the big shift there was heroes are going to suffer for what they have. You're going to have a blind hero. You're going to have a hero covered in rock. You're going to have And of course, with Spider-Man, he's a kid. He's going to have all the problems that kids and teenagers have, but also being a superhero on top of that. So I think the ability to relate to these nerds and suffering for what they have really allowed Marvel to gain their traction in the 60s and 70s. And oh my goodness, those 70 shows, you suffered for those shows. You know, if you were watching Bill Bixby's The Hulk, you're like, what's going on?
Lou Ferrigno.
Oh yeah. And, but
I love that show, by the way.
But again, there was some parts of that show just kind of crazy, you know, like how all that did. And then, you know, the special effects, you were going to really, you know, be a fan of it to be back then, you know? And so, yeah, it has had grown popularity, but I'd keep it a B to be a good Marvel nerd.
We'll maybe we'll need a tiebreaker here. I'm thinking of Marvel pushed into the C bracket because of all the modern films and the Disney Plus shows, they've certainly expanded the popularity, but I also think they've made them so bland and innocuous that they're just not entertaining. They never challenge the viewer. They're very predictable. And then the worst sin I feel like they're guilty of is the crossing universes just across universes. We're just kind of throwing things together just so we can have cameos.
I think it takes the stakes out of it.
I think yes, and no one can die.
Yes,
anyone who dies will be back.
Well, I could put it. I could live with it at C.
Well,
Yeah.
let's hear from our guest.
I would put it safely as a C.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
not
And I love some of the movies.
The tribal council has spoken.
Wait, we have.
Stevens.
I'm not a multiverse fan,
He
but
does
the
have
only
the
reason
first-
they're doing it in the movies is to retcon a bunch of contractual issues that they have now since rectified by purchasing the rest of the characters back. So it's not necessarily just to have fun cameos, it's so that you can actually legally have everyone on the camera at the same time, whereas you previously couldn't.
Okay, noted.
Does not change my opinion,
Yeah.
but thank you,
Well, I'm
Steven.
glad that Jamie Foxx showed up as Electro in the third Spider-Man movie. That really did it for me.
Okay, Pokemon.
It's hard to not say how popular Pokemon is. And you know, this was created on the back of Magic the Gathering. So someone said, all right, let's make a trading card game and let's make the phrase, you got to catch them all. Genius. And then let's have a TV show to explain this. And then Yu-Gi-Oh came about and we're going to teach people how to play the game in the cartoon. But where Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of fallen to the side, Pokemon just keeps on.
And the augmented reality.
Oh my goodness.
People
That
just
the most
going out
popular.
and actually catching them all.
Yeah. Pokemon Go, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, I mean, has reached millions of people worldwide. And so, I mean, it is just very, very broad.
And Mr. Doulbeare is focusing on the trading card game side, but you know, if we go back to, I think it's either 97 or 98 for the original release of the Pokemon Game Boy game, which is modeled on role-playing games. So the Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior model of Japanese RPG, that's pretty nerdy. However, the mainstream appeal of Pokemon is such that it doesn't feel to me like it could enter the S bracket because it is still so accessible. It's so warm and cuddly. You can like Pokemon without being placed into a locker. So I don't know. What are some other thoughts on Pokemon?
I mean, do adults like it currently?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Adults who grew up with Pokemon.
my
There's no
goodness.
adult who never enjoyed Pokemon as a child who all of a sudden picks up. I think that's pretty rare.
I think right now, that at Epic Universe or somewhere at Universal Studios, we are going to see one of these places in the park change soon, and it's going to be big Pokemon land because it's so popular.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, A it is.
I would say A or B.
And finally, one of the most classic nerd IPs of all time, Star Trek. I'm going to start by saying I think Star Trek is nerdier than Star Wars. I think that's a
Agreed.
generally accepted, definition. So I don't know, fellas.
Well,
what do you think?
it's
Both
hard to,
swore
like,
you've never had
It's hard to give an answer because everyone loves it here so much. It's so great. And then
Star Trek is the norm at ASMS.
those J.J. Abrams movies were a little bit charming in some ways, but not as good as the other Star Trek stuff. But I would give it SSSSS, but I can't. So it's probably not there either because of those J.J. Abrams movies.
and all the Paramount Plus shows. I mean, they've allowed that to go on. And again, you've got a show that's 60 years old that brought something around. And then when I was in high school, Next Generation came out. Like each time you can latch onto something different depending on your entry point, and then keep that going for so many years. And again, it's a very positive show, very, progressive and tries to promote good ideas. So, I mean, that's a big plus.
But it's not as nerdy as like those two war things that you guys talked about.
Two war things. It's very nerd, and it is almost the beginning of modern nerd culture, because Star Trek cons and Star Trek gatherings are in many ways where modern fan conventions come from. So, and those are people who loved Star Trek after it went off the air, the original series, and they wanted to still be fans of it. And their fandom helped create Next Gen. And Next Gen, which probably all of us like, is a real foray into the mainstream, very entertaining, very literary, very good, but still definitely very nerdy. I love Star Trek. I do think that it's still not quite in the mainstream. You still have to be a nerd to like it. But I also do know plenty of normal folks, normies, who dig Star Trek. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think it fits every definition of nerddom that we've debated. So I think it's S tier.
Okay.
I do think that it is. Well, that's everything that we had to rank, and we've learned a lot about.
Well, when he puts that up there, you have to say engage.
Make it so.
Make it so.
All right, we can do that if you. So we are about out of time here, but we always end by asking our guests, what fictional world would you most like to visit?
Wow, that's a good one.
We've delved into quite a few here.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to go to the. Well, I do enjoy going to the Star Wars world at Disney, so that's pretty fun. Yeah, it's kind of grungy. I'd go to Star Wars.
Okay.
I have a really, really underdog answer here. When I was a kid, I really liked the computer adventure game, The Secret of Monkey Island. And that world, which I played on an old beat up desktop in 16-bit color, looked perfect to me. It's a pirate adventure game. It's humorous.
Lucasfilm, right?
Back when it was Lucasfilm Games, yes. And it was just a beautifully wrought world. I would live there.
Okay.
And it's safe. I wouldn't want to live in the Warhammer universe. It's very bad.
So the question that got you both here, who is the biggest adult nerd on campus? You might want to make a case for yourselves.
I think the biggest advantage I have over Dr. Frye is I'm 10 years older. So I've got to experience a lot of those things. I've also done a lot of more nerdy traveling. Like I'm like Dr. Frye. I'm married to a nerd. She has shared some of the passions with me. We would travel to these cons together. So that really helps. So, I think that having that age, allowing both my boys to get into several of these fandoms and following them, that's given me advantage. So I'm a bigger nerd just because I'm a classic vintage nerd, and that gives me, the heads up.
Well, there's two answers to this.
Oh, good.
And one of them is I could display my biggest nerd chops by just giving it up, like, take my lunch money, and just saying, you're the biggest nerd, and just giving it up. But if I were to make a case for myself, it's that I think I'm a nerd in many different abhorrent pop culture strains. So it's pro wrestling, video games, comics, miniature gaming, tabletop card gaming. That might be it, thankfully.
Clothing.
That's subcategory under video games. And mugs. But it's the fact that I'm spread across so many areas. So even though I don't have as many years on me as Mr. Doulbeare, I've been to more WWE shows.
Well,
very fun.
We are not going to declare a winner here and now. We
can say that you're a D tier nerd, though.
I can be okay.
We have two S tier nerds here.
I'm not cool, but
Definitely.
I don't know about a bunch of that stuff. That's for sure. You guys lost me proudly, left me behind there, and that's fine. So anyway, our viewers, if you guys are watching or listening, maybe let us know in the comments who you think the battle rages on. Who do you think is the biggest adult nerd on campus? And I think what's so interesting is that you want to be nerds, right? Like one thing we've talked about is just the character of being a nerd and what it means to be a nerd. And I think that even for also Mr. Floyd here, it seems to be a badge that you wear proudly. And that's kind of an ASMS thing. So that makes sense to me.
But Mr. Doulbeare, you were alive when being called a nerd kind of stung.
For sure. And
it doesn't now.
Not as more, but that's okay. I can see that point of view.
You won.
Where, thanks to Bill Gates.
Won.
Yes,
we all made it here. And I mean, but even Mr. Floyd, I think, seems to think that even though he's much, much younger than the rest of us, he said, that he suffered for nerddom in high school and waited in line for comic books and things like that. So we're all here together now at the nerd school, the Alabama School of
When I was in high school at our sister school in South Carolina, our friend group kept our card gaming secret from significant others like girlfriends. Only in the boys' dorm would we play Magic the Gathering or D&D. Out in civilian life, we were normal.
And you were and
you don't have to do that now.
You were at a boarding school where you're not. So
I was at a boarding school exactly like this one, and we hid it. We hid the card gaming from people outside of the dorms.
Times have changed.
Since the MIT quiz in 1992, the battle rages on. So let us know in the comments, like and subscribe to Nerd Alert.